What is up, my collie friends? Welcome to the video. Thanks for clicking on the link. I appreciate it as always. Got a fun little form / drill, whatever you want to call it, here for you guys today. This form, so what I'm going to show you is an Espada Daga form, drill, whatever you want to call it, that I put together based on a Collie Center solo Espada form. Okay, so before I show you the Espada Daga, let me show you the solo Espada form that this is built on. You can actually, if you want like an actual breakdown of this, Paul does a super good job of a variation of this forms where I learned it on the Collie Center.training in the starter pack. This is, I know for a fact, this is one of the forms that he teaches in that. So if you want to actually learn the solo Espada form, go check it out. But I'll just show you it real quickly, and then we'll get to the Espada Daga. All right, so the solo Espada form is 1 through 4, 2, 3, 4, then your plus, right? Forehand and backhand. Then your redondos. I like to change levels on mine. And then on the vertical ones, I like to go shoulder, take the upper third to 0 degrees, and then on the last one, the third one, do a circular angle 2. That is a slight variation from what you'll see on Paul's videos. And then backhand redondos, high, mid, low, and then shoulder. The blade is in line with the shoulder. The upper third is in line with 0 degrees. You can also bring this over to a true reverse angle 2 if you want. And then the third one is your circular angle 1. And you're going to stop in the thrusting position, your number 7 chamber position, and do a broken centerline thrust, fluid centerline thrust, broken backhand, fluid backhand, broken forehand thrust, fluid, and then you've got your backhand puño, centerline puño, angle 1 puño, or forehand puño strike. Puño is the back of the weapon, right? Okay, and then let's just face this way, and I'll do that one more time. So we've got 1 through 4, 2, 3, 4, plus, boom, redondos, changing your levels, mid, low, backhand, changing the orientation of where the upper third is, and doing your circular angle 2 on the last one. And then backhand redondos, changing the levels, vertical strike in line with the shoulder, in line, upper third in line with 0 degrees, and then in circular angle 1, ending in the thrusting position, broken center line, fluid center line, broken backhand, fluid backhand, broken forehand, fluid, puño, 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 back to the start. That's the basic form. Now, Espada Daga. So I took this form. If you don't know that form, I highly recommend it. It's one of my favorites, actually. It covers all of the angles of attacks, the energies. It's a really good form to have in your belt. If you don't know that form, you really should go learn that. But once you do know it, let's put a knife to it. Let's up the difficulty level a little bit. Now, when I put the Daga movements, the dagger movements together with this form, my mindset was that I'm working on the independence of this weapon. With the Espada Daga, you really need to be able to move your left hand differently than you move your right hand. And so that's kind of what the Daga movements, it's really what it's kind of designed for with this particular form. Okay, so let's go through it. So you're going to see me go from the number 1 position in the number 2 position a lot with the Daga here. Okay, those are your 2 positions for the Daga. So you're starting in your number 1 position with your Daga and your Espada in number 1 chamber. And as I throw my 1, the Daga is going to transition from the position 1 to position 2. Boom, like that. When I throw my 2, it's going to come back to where it was, and it strikes out a jab, and it makes contact when my Espada makes contact with chamber. Actually, it should be here in the number 3. So it's 1, 2, right there like that. Okay? And then we're going to go 3, and notice how far my hand is away from the Daga when I'm about to throw that 4. And when I swing it, I personally like to turn the edge of this Daga, just small little detail here, down so that my hand does not travel in front of the edge of my weapon. Okay? Boom, swinging that 4. So we've got 1, 2, 3, and then do a low jab when we strike our angle 4. And then we've got our plus. So we've got our forehand horizontal with our backhand vertical. And when we do our backhand horizontal, we're going to do a supporting thrust with the Daga. And then the Daga stays out in the tip up parry position as I throw my vertical. Now the redondos. I'm going to do my forehand redondo. As it's coming to chamber, I throw a high jab. Comes mid-level redondo. As it comes to chamber, I'm throwing a mid-thrust. Low redondo. As it's coming to the number 2 chamber, as I'm coming back, I'm throwing my low jab. Now I've got my vertical slash in line with the shoulder, vertical slash where the upper third is in line with 0 degrees, and then circular 2, and I'm going to do a pass-through thrust with the Daga when I do this circular 2, bringing it to the chamber position over here. So I now can come out on the horizontal, doing my backhand redondos. As this is coming to chamber, I'm going to throw a high jab. This comes down, bolt to the number 2 position. This is in your reverse chamber position. It's technically the number 6 guard position is where your Espada is at. And you're going to come out on the horizontal line and supporting thrust on the midline. And then coming low with my redondo, boom, and then low jab. Now for the verticals. I'm going to do a tip up parry as I do a vertical strike with the Espada in line with the shoulder. I'm going to do a tip down parry on covering the low line as the Espada comes and the upper third travels down 0 degrees. The Daga comes back to the number 2 position, and I do my circular angle 1, comes to the thrusting position, throw out a high jab, center line thrust, a broken thrust with the Daga, a centerline fluid thrust with the Espada, turning this over to the backhand thrusting position. Now when we do the broken thrust, we're going to cover the low line with the Daga with a palm down, tip down parry. Then we're coming fluid with the Espada and doing a supporting thrust with the Daga. And then, let me see if I can, oh yeah, and then forehand, we are doing a tip up parry as we do a broken thrust, leaving it where it's at, because sometimes when you're in the Espada y Daga, you just have to keep this line covered as this hand does its job. So we're coming and we put this out parry, broken thrust, fluid thrust, bring this back to chamber, and we're going to do a backhand puño strike as we do a high thrust with the Daga. Coming center line with the Espada and doing a mid thrust with the Daga. Coming to the number one chamber with the Espada and coming out with your puño and doing a low thrust with the Daga. And that's it. That's all. Okay, let's go through it a couple more times. So we've got 1, 2, jab. 3, 4, low jab. Horizontal, backhand vertical. Supporting thrust on that backhand horizontal to parry as we do the vertical. Then we're doing forehand redondo, high jab. Mid redondo, mid thrust. Low redondo, low jab. Backhand vertical in line with the shoulder. Backhand vertical in line with 0 degrees. Circular 2 with a pass-through thrust. Now backhand redondos, high with a high jab. Mid with a supporting thrust. Low with a low jab. And we're doing a tip up parry when this comes down in line with the shoulder. Doing a tip down parry when the upper third comes in line with 0 degrees. Daga comes to the number 2 position as we do our circular 1. And then we're doing a jab, broken thrust with the Daga, fluid thrust with the Espada, then same time supporting, covering the low line as you do a broken thrust with backhand thrust, then fluid thrust, supporting thrust. This comes out tip up parry, broken thrust, leaving this where it is, fluid thrust, then backhand puño with high thrust, center line puño with center line thrust, and forehand puño strike with a low thrust. Boom. Do a couple more times. 1, 2, jab. 3, 4, low jab. Plus backhand with the supporting jab. Parry as you do your vertical. Now we're doing our forehand redondo, jab. Mid-level, thrust. Low, jab. Vertical in line with the shoulder. Vertical in line with 0 degrees. Circular 2, pass-through thrust. Backhand redondos. Jab with the Daga. Midline redondo. Midline thrust with the Daga. Low line redondo. Low line thrust with the Daga. Tip up parry as we do our vertical in line with the shoulder. Tip down parry as we do our vertical in line with 0 degrees. Comes back to position 2 as we do our circular angle 1. Jab with the Daga. Broken thrust with the Espada. Broken high thrust with the Daga. Fluid thrust with the Espada. Now we're covering the low line with the Daga as we thrust high, broken with the Espada. Then doing a fluid thrust supporting thrust with the Daga, turning this to my forehand thrusting position, tip up parry as I broken thrust with the Espada, leaving it there as I do my fluid thrust, then doing a backhand puño as I thrust high with the Espada, center line as I thrust mid, and low line as, backhand, forehand puño, if I can speak, as I thrust low with the Daga. So just running through it a few times for you guys. 1, 2, jab, 3, 4, jab, plus, boom. If I could, let's do it right. Boom, like that. So you see the Daga really does kind of its own thing with it, right? I'm just going to go through this a couple of times for you guys. One more time. Like that. All right. That's what I got for you guys today. Hope you liked it. Hope you can use it. If any of you happen to be in the Long Beach, Washington area and you want to learn some Kali, come on out to the Grange on Tuesday nights from 7 p.m. to 8:30 p.m. Or on Saturday mornings at the Long Beach Elementary School in the outdoor basketball court from 10 a.m. to 11:30 a.m. Classes are free. It's just something I like to do for my community. I feel like self-defense is really important. And after, almost 2 decades of studying martial arts of various kinds, I can tell you the ability to use weapons and understand how to move with weapons and when somebody else has a weapon is extraordinarily important. And I wish more martial artists studied with weaponry and not just hand to hand. Anyway, that's the end of my rant. Thanks again, you guys, for watching. God bless. Doses.